those who have heard this before switch off and wake up in a minute's time. It happened during the persecution behind the Iron Curtain, when torture was still a la mode. There was this holy priest who was happily married to a holy presbytera. As you know, there is a kind of female consecration in the Eastern Orthodox Church where the presbytera, the wife of the priest, has very strict rules to follow. She's also the sacristan, and she has to abstain in marriage at certain periods and so on. And so it's a vocation. And out of those marriages come quite often the next priest for the village. So this was happening, and he was, because a fervent priest, a thorough nuisance to the authorities. He was going beyond what was allowed. The liturgy was tolerated, but it had to stop there. And so eventually he was tracked down because he had been distributing the equivalent of tracts and the like underground. And he was put in captivity, I believe tortured, and died in prison. But his holy and fairly young presbytera carried on. She was herself typing out these little tracts, diffusing the word of God as best she could. The only thing was that she had to use the typewriter of her office, which was therefore somehow state property. And that's how they traced who was behind the one slight irregularity in the typing. There was one letter which wasn't perfect each time. So they meticulously got to the typewriter and the person behind it. Prison. And they wanted information. Who were her collaborators? She wouldn't talk. Next stage, you can imagine, torture. At one stage, as the torture got more ferocious, they asked her, "Why will you not talk?" And under atrocious pain, she had the force to say, "He will not let me." And so they carried on. At the end of one severe session, she had to be taken back to her cell. That meant that one of the torturers had to, more or less, link and carry her. And in her frailty, she said to him, "May God reward you for this, your tenderness." Ouch! It struck a chord. Eventually, they were determined to get information out of her. And they had one torture which was pretty effective in having that effect. The only thing was, it meant having 4 strong men to carry it out. He wouldn't go along with it. That word had struck a chord, and he would not go through with it. What could he do? Very little, except one thing, the language that he knew. He pulled out his pistol and shot at the others, who immediately shot back, and in the crossfire, the girl was hit and lying on the floor in a bath of her blood. And she said, "I am dying." He one of the 4 torturers, had also been hit in the crossfire and also was in a bath of blood, but had enough strength to say one word: "Take me with you." She had just enough strength to extend her blood-covered hand to him and touch him and say, "Come." And they died, holding hands, as she pulled him unto glory. At the 11th hour, my friends, in Catholic Ireland, I understand that right now, many who have practiced regularly Sunday Mass and even the other sacraments for a whole life are at a last period of their life saying there's no real need to go to Mass. The message that we give is that everyone gets there anyway. And as you have observed, they have stopped going. Perhaps for the simple reason that the schedule of Masses has been changed and it is not convenient to go just before their usual dinner time. These are people in the age bracket of 70 and upwards who haven't got all that much time before the end. And the end is a long beginning. Listen. I say this in the context of Septuagesima, 70 days, because in the liturgy, at least in the monastic world, on this night begin the whole series of the creation of man, the fall of Adam, the preparation for the redemption, which is the cross and passion. It starts this day, the countdown. And we would sing for hours at night in France, in magnificent ancient Gregorian chant, the whole story of the fall of man and its fixing. Who can fathom God's judgments, says the soul in purgatory? Who can comprehend the purity that he requires of a soul before he admits it to participation in his eternal happiness? Alas! If people only reflected on these things while yet on earth, what a life they would lead. Examine seriously how many venial sins a negligent person, one who is little concerned for his salvation and is well glued to the earth, commits in one day. Glued to the earth can mean this, my friends. What this for eternity? How many minutes does he give to God? Translate. Where do my 24 hours go? To this or to listening to him? We can't do both. Does he as much as think of him with reflection? Think hard, says the soul roasting in purgatory, a nun. Contemplate 365 days of this kind in 1 year. And if a large number of years follow the same pattern, this person dies with a soul loaded with a multitude of venial sins which haven't been effaced because the thought never came to him. What Stones calls unfinished business. Only just, she says, is there left in the soul thus overridden one tiny flicker of love when it comes to give an account of its life to the one who requires it back again. Goes on. It all starts again. And the levels of purgatory are described. I remind you, the lowest level works on the same heating system as hell. Therefore, my friends, Septuagesima and the whole cycle that begins is there for a reason. The countdown has begun also for each one of us here. Just a few years ago, before the COVID, after Mass in this church, on one feast day, I took a girl who'd asked for a lift to Delvin to see her brother. The next day, a text came back. Her brother was dead. That same night, he'd gone to get some chips and lost control of the car and was found in a field. He was in his 20s. Septuagesima is there, as is the whole liturgical year, to get things back in proportion. I give you this, which I wrote thinking in Italy about the bodies that we were burying. Alas, what proportion was ready. I was burying one day, as they do in Italy, in the wall. That person had not been to church for years. Next to her was the body of our Vicar General from the same village, Sedano, a holy man who helped us a lot. What a difference. They died nearly the same month, about the same age, 90. 2 eternities beginning at the same dot of time, but 90 years very differently spent.
exac desteram Patris.
Ceterum et glorios est cum gloria, iudicare vivos et mortuos, quonius veni gloria requinis.
Et in Spiritus Sanctum Dominum et vivificantem, qui Patre Filioque proce